People's image of Korea varies. Korea is known as the most wired country in the world, home to many technology powerhouses such as Samsung and LG. Those who closely follow North Korea's nuclear issue may think of the image of the South Korean president shaking hands with his North Korean counterpart. Of all the images about Korea, what is pretty conspicuous is Koreans' use of dogs as a food source. Along with the Chinese, Vietnamese, and other countries, Koreans are known to eat dogs. We often hear jokes made by Western comedians making fun of this controversial eating habit of Koreans. But not all Koreans are okay with this image. This way of eating has been a keen issue amongst Koreans for decades, and the debate has become more heated recently, as Korea now has more pet owners who think of dogs as family members. This month, there was a demonstration urging the government to ban slaughtering dogs for consumption. But there are also those who think eating dogs is just part of Korea's age-old custom. They say they don't eat pets, and the meat used for food comes from limited breeds of dogs raised like other livestock. Some proponents of eating dogs believe that dog meat has a unique nutritional value that shouldn't be dismissed. They also say it's hypocritical to ban eating dogs while cows or pigs are also raised and slaughtered by humans. Opponents say that people don't raise cows or pigs for pets, and thus are not so emotionally attached to them as they are to dogs. Rightfully, people feel uncomfortable about the idea of eating man's best friend. Also, there are many reports that dogs used for food are raised in unsanitary and inhumane environments. People are sensitive about how we treat dogs, but the way we treat other livestock has always been an issue for many animal rights activists. There are many vegetarians who say the uncivilized manner of treating livestock has made them become vegetarians. This decades-old issue can't be resolved in a short period of time, but the issue about dogs can be an important starting point for discussing how we should treat animals and livestock in a civilized society. Most people don't have a problem eating factory farm meat, but when it comes to dogs, many take issue with this. It can be seen as hypocritical. So I said, most people don't have a problem eating factory farmed meat. Factory farm meat is an expression we use for meat. Mostly it's pork, chicken, and beef, and a factory farm. So in the United States, we have these huge farms where it kind of looks like a factory. You know, the cow comes in, they're killed, they're chopped up, they're packaged, and they leave. So we call that factory farm meat. I guess the opposite would be organic meat or free-range meat, where the cow would live on a farm, be eating grass, not be eating corn, and kind of humanely killed. So the opposite is, or the most meat comes from factory farms. And then secondly, I said it can be seen as hypocritical. So being a hypocrite or hypocritical is when you say something, but you do something else. So for example, you say, well, I don't think eating dog meat is right, but you still eat cow or chicken. That's a little hypocritical because you're still eating meat. If you don't want to be hypocritical, you would stop eating meat altogether. Eating meat is relative. Distinguishing animals and meat for consumption can be tricky. If this were the case, you would need to give up meat altogether. So I said eating meat, it's kind of relative. It's not based on a standard fact. So if you consider one type of form of animal is better than another, well, that's what we say could be tricky. And when I say tricky, it can be a little complicated. So there's no real standard fact or set rule for what people think eating meat is. People tend to humanize certain animals like dogs and other pets. This creates a stigma about eating them. There is a societal feeling that dogs should not be consumed. So I said people tend to humanize certain animals. To humanize something is to give human qualities or attributes to a non-human thing, like an animal or even something not living. So if you humanize, for example, we've humanized mice through things like Mickey Mouse. We've made them kind of cute. And or Winnie the Pooh, we've humanized bears. But in reality, a bear will kill you. So to humanize something is to give animals' human characteristics. And then I said this creates a stigma about eating them. A stigma is kind of a negative or disgraceful feeling attached to a subject. So since we've humanized these animals, there is a stigma about eating them. Since some people see dogs and other pets as part of their family, they have a strong opinion that dogs should not be consumed for food. Less and less people are consuming dog-based dishes. Government involvement would be futile at this point. So I said government involvement would be futile at this point. If something's futile, it's useless. Even if the government get involved, it wouldn't do any good. So we say it's futile. There is only a niche group of Koreans who still eat dogs, and this number is falling every year. It would be a waste of time and effort to involve the government to regulate the dog farming industry. So I said there's only a niche group of Koreans. A niche group is a small group that has an interest in one thing. So for example, if you look at Korea, you look at all the Hagwons, most people are learning English. But for example, if you were to learn Thai, that's a very niche language in Korea. So I'm assuming there'd be a few specialized Thai Hagwons. So that is a niche area. Or, K-pop is dominant in Korea. I would say punk rock music would be a very niche group. So niche groups are usually small groups that have interests in one thing. There is a lack of oversight for the treatment of canines raised for slaughter. These animals do not have the same rules and regulations that are applied to more popular livestock. The government needs to step in and do something about this. So I said there's a lack of oversight. Oversight means someone's watching you, or there are certain rules or regulations that are governing the situation. So oversight means that, someone, if you break a rule, there's going to be a penalty or a fine, or you're getting into trouble. And I said there's a lack of oversight for the treatment of canines. Canines is another word for dogs. I believe it's the Latin word, so it's kind of encompasses all of dogs in general. So canine, we use that word as well. And then finally, I said these animals do not have the same rules and regulations that are applied to more popular livestock. Livestock refers to animals usually raised on a farm, and not all, but sometimes they are used for consumption. For example, you can have a horse, it can be livestock, but you don't eat it. However, if you have a cow, you can eat it, but it all goes under livestock. Most animals we eat are heavily regulated. Dogs do not fall under these strict regulations. The government needs to do more in order to prevent unnecessary suffering for dogs raised for consumption. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for downloading. Bye.